Hey everyone, it's Scott from BlueCat Networks. On today's video, we're just going to show you how to deal with the fact that you may have certain queries, such as these in Edge, that there's just far too many of them, and you don't really care about them, you don't care about recording them, and you know that they're going to be going to your SIEM, and you don't want that to happen because that's going to end up costing a lot of money in the long run. So what we're going to do is first we're just going to take a look at our policy, which is down here. So right now we just have it's linked with a single domain list set as a watch list, just to allow everything, which is just has an asterisk for the domain. So everything you can think of set to monitor. So as you can see here, in the past hour or so, we've gotten for the regular host.dummy.com, which is something that we want to keep track of. We've got about 30 to 41 events. And if contrast that with something that we don't care about, we've got 5,000 events in the same time frame. So that can add up to a little bit more than we really want to be recording. So what we're going to do to prevent these things from getting into Splunk, so we're going to create a domain list, and we're going to call it SLNoLog. And down here it's going to go by too many of these.dummy.com. And obviously you might just have certain host names in multiple domains, in which case it'll probably be best to upload a CSV to have a number of those. And enter and save. Okay, and now we're going to go back over to our policy and edit that. And in our domain lists, we are going to put that one, the SLNoLog, into the exception list. And save and apply. Go back over to our query logs so we can keep monitoring things. And let's update, make sure that's within the last 60 minutes. And all of those queries have actually been since 3:21, so it's not too bad within the last 15 minutes. So we don't really need to change that too much. So just wait a moment for the service point to get updated, and we'll dump a bunch of more queries towards it for both the regular host and dummy and too many of these .dummy.com queries. And we can see that it will only show one of these. Well, it will only show one of them as having increased significantly. So first we'll do the regular hosts. Dump in a bunch of new queries for that. Here's my window for the SSH that just shows a bunch of stuff. We'll wait a moment for Edge to get refreshed with all the new queries. I believe that my settings in here are to get it every 240 seconds. So hopefully it won't take too long to get it in both sections. Let's change this to regular host. So it looks like a bunch more came in because it was 5,000 a second ago, and now it's up to 10,027. There we go. Okay, so there we can see the big pile of regular host dummy.com queries that I just dumped in, which are reflected here. And now I'm going to change my querying script to query for the too many of these .dummy.com records. A bunch of those flying by. And it will take a moment. Notice how I'm putting far too many here. And we'll wait a couple minutes for Edge to update and show us all of the too many of these .dummy.com queries, which will always show up in Edge regardless of whether or not we're setting to the SIEM. It's still available in Edge, so you still have that data available to you there. It's just not going to cost you as much money. Let's see if it's showing up in here yet. 321, not yet. So remember, 5,000 was the last, so it should be the same since we put it into the exception policy. There we go. And a whole bunch of those. And you'll notice that the policy action is none, whereas, okay, go that on that far. If you remember from a second ago, the policy action for the regular host was set to monitor. So we can wait a few minutes, a couple minutes for this. And what's going to happen is it's kind of hard to prove it because it's kind of hard to prove that something doesn't exist when in this type of situation. But if you trust me, we can wait as long as we want, and these will never show up. Nothing newer than 321 because we've changed the, we've put that FQDN into an exception policy. So it's just not going to get logged here. As you remember, after we did the last record, it happened pretty quickly. If we want to, we can just delete that domain list. First, I got to remove the. One thing to notice is that the monitor policy is set to monitor. Edit this and drop out the no log exception list. So still 5,000 within the past hour. And we'll do another quick dump of about 5,000 records of these, too many of these dummy.com queries. And so these ones will show up because I just changed back the exception. We'll just have to wait a moment for this to show up. Excellent timing. Okay, so now you can see too many of these .dummy.com is back in the monitor policy action, which means they will get sent to Splunk. Now, the question is, I know that I have 240 seconds as my time frame for getting it, pulling from Splunk to, sorry, I should say pulling from Edge to Splunk. See how accurate that is. That might take us a couple of minutes.
A few minutes later.
See, I told you so. Now there's 10,000 events, so I wasn't actually being crazy. It does actually show up, just takes a little while because of the recommended settings for pulling the queries in from DNS Edge, interval of 240 seconds.